Hello guys and welcome to a new Steel Division video today by me Vulcan. Today I have View Game 2 in a best of 3 between YueJin and AmberT, and this is the semi-final of Chickendew's European tournament. In the first game we saw YueJin secure that using his 9th Panzer versus AmberT's Guards Armoured, and in this one we're now going to see YueJin use the 101st on the Allied side versus AmberT's 352nd on the Axis side. So AmberT falling back to a division that has done him well throughout the tournament so far. He's definitely had a lot of success with the 352nd, and I hope to see him show his prowess with that division throughout this game. On the side of YueJin, however, the 101st isn't a division we see very often at all. But this map could be well suited to some of the infantry that YueJin will have access to. One really cool thing about the 101st is they are actually quite versatile. They can use their infantry to frontline. They do have locusts in phase A, which are actually relatively decent. And then they do have a lot of decent aircraft and artillery. So if played right, YueJin could use smoke to cover his infantry and make a lot of ground that way. And that's something that I'm looking forward to seeing, like exactly what sort of doctrine that YueJin's going to take going into this game. Like whether or not it's going to be like infantry based. It would always be infantry based with 101st, but whether or not he supports that with tanks, artillery or planes mostly, or just maybe a mix of them all. Normally it's one or the other when it comes to artillery or planes though. So we'll have to wait and see. Let's have a look at some of the deployment coming down here from YueJin. He's got some Pathfinders there, plenty of recon, a couple of mortars coming in. He's got some airborne engineers, he's got airborne rifles, a couple of command. So it looks like he's going to like spread out to maybe this town area and on the top side and try and maybe push through these hedgerows and up here quite concentrated. Whereas in the mid, it looks like he's going to play it less concentrated with airborne rifles and Pathfinders. And on the bottom side, it's just airborne rifles, Pathfinders, and the command infantry. They're just going to take up these buildings, stopping anything from coming across the open and just taking this town. On the side of AmberT, he's going to be going for Osttruppen on the bottom side, Osttruppen for the mid with a mortar there, another Osttruppen, followed up by an IG, I assume. Panzer 35R is also going to be following up with a Panzerjäger 35. We've got the Panzer 35R heading up there as well, and then we have 2 units of Osttruppen. The only command I've seen so far is on this top side with these 2 Osttruppen and the Panzerjäger. So yeah, it looks like he's just supplying recon command in the location where he knows there's going to be concentrated infantry fighting. Because the last thing you want to do is be overrun by enemy infantry through surrenders. Right, let's have a look at how YueJin's going to play this out. He's got his mortars down. This mortar is going to be providing HE shells onto these Osttruppen as the airborne rifles engage. They're going to be able to pin down this infantry very quickly, in fact, and allow the airborne rifles to make quite a lot of ground. But so far, the 30 cal's doing a really good job of that. M3 gun nearly gets a cheeky shot into the Panzerjäger, but missed. Everywhere else, things are quiet. Osttruppen just holding ground down here. I'm surprised that there's no infantry in this sort of area of the map. Maybe AmberT will reinforce that later on. Right, YueJin has found himself the +1 early on. He's got the 51% territory lead. He's going to now go aggressive with his airborne rifles towards these Osttruppen. These Osttruppen are going to have to be pretty careful. They will get overrun pretty easily. But YueJin does have to find a way to deal with his Panzerjäger. And it looks like he's going to go for the mortar fire. If he can get maybe a direct shot, he might even find the kill there. Because that Panzerjäger is open top. Well, that's very nearly pinned down. And forced to fall back. That would have been devastating. Osttruppen do get surrendered by the airborne rifles. Airborne rifles actually miss their Zuka shot. That's very unfortunate for YueJin. Can he run it down though? That's the question. Can he make that Panzerjäger surrender? I don't think he's going to do that. I think he's just going to go for the Zuka shot. Yep, that's good. Finds the kill. Now he needs to get rid of this Grenfuhrer, and that's going to allow him to get very aggressive onto the Osttroopen. But this IG-18, I like this purchase. It basically stops these airborne rifles from running across in the open again. YueJin could very easily use these mortars to smoke off his infantry on the advance, but an IG-18 is always going to be a pain in the bum. And now both these Panzer 35s are arriving on this top side to help out, but the M3 gun going to bail out one of the Panzer 35s already, and that was a nice first shot from that M3 gun. On the bottom side, things just quite simply covered by the airborne rifles. I like this sort of passive play down here from YueJin. He's really taken advantage of the cover he's got with these hedgerows on the top side to make ground. And the M3 gun finding the kill there onto the Panzer 35 is very nice as well. So, it looks like YueJin's focusing on artillery. 2 mortars, he's got an M1 howitzer in here. Good stuff. Airborne rifles haven't really taken too much damage so far. And he's made himself a +1, which is now starting to count up. And if it's anything like the last game, well, a +1 really sealed the deal throughout the whole game. That's all that YueJin really needed to defeat AmberT. AmberT really needs to find a way to put the pressure back on YueJin. He needs to get some counter battery going, so he does have this 120mm mortar here. He needs to find YueJin's mortars and start targeting those, and then he needs to get some more armor like these Panzer 35s so that he can basically pressure these airborne rifles from a distance without the airborne rifles being able to pin down those units. So the IG-18s are a nice choice. He needs to maybe he can get this IG-18 to take out the M3 gun for him. That would be perfect, because then the Panzer 35s would have the pressure that he would like in order to push through. The other choice that AmberT could make is stop reinforcing on the top side, just leave a couple of IGs there with command and maybe some recon, and then push down the bottom side instead. Because he has made a little bit of ground in the centre of the map, but this is generally how it happens in Omaha because of the way the roads work. So often the red side will get into these buildings before the blue side can get there. But mortars definitely providing effective fire so far. Going to be pinning down these Osttroop and airborne rifles, going to run those down. 120mm mortar does find shots towards the 60mm mortar, but isn't being particularly accurate at the moment. We do see a P-51 Mustang coming in onto the 120mm mortar. Having that in front of the tree line instead of behind it is going to cost him if those bombs land on target. The first bomb seemed to be a little bit off target, which does mean that the 120mm mortar stays alive for now. M3 gun though is going to find the kill onto the Panzer 35 here. A lot of really good ground being made by YueJin. And he's also mortaring this IG-18 to death quite easily. And these 60mm mortars, they only have 900 meter range, so to me it's quite surprising that the IG-18s are actually being hit. Generally you'd like to keep the IG-18s at the max range, because they're just really effective at that range. But Osttroop in here, stacked up, are both going to get pinned down. There's no command nearby, so that could be a double surrender if AmberT's not too careful. I honestly just feel like, across the board, AmberT's units are outclassed by YueJin's. Especially in this terrain. Like, the airborne rifles and the Pathfinders are just too good against these Osttroopen. They pin them down so damn quickly, and these airborne mortars have just been perfectly microed so far. YueJin's used these so well to keep AmberT's infantry at bay and find surrenders. M1 howitzer is pinning down this 120mm mortar as well, and bringing in both of the 120mm mortars on the side of AmberT is the perfect choice, because he needs to start counter battering or this game will fall away from him. But YueJin's just been on point. He's really just kept the pressure up. You can see he's brought in another M1 howitzer up here, which I think that one was already there, but he's brought one down to the mid now, which is helping him clean up this one. Airborne rifles are getting a bit greedy, I think, pushing across the open here. I think that's probably an unnecessary move. We're going to see this IG-18 probably start to do quite a lot of damage to these squads very shortly. IG-18 does manage to take out the M3 gun, and we now see the 120mm mortar almost get the kill onto the 60mm mortar here. Ju-87 going to be coming in with the bombing strike. Does find the kill onto that mortar. Okay, so one mortar down. This is what AmberT really needs to do. He needs to be a little bit careful with how he uses the Ju-87s though, because he can't really rely on them. He is playing against an airborne deck after all, and therefore the Air Force that the 101st can bring will be quite significant. So Osttrooping engaging the airborne rifles here. M1 howitzer going to be trying to get rid of this IG-18. Going to probably have a hard time doing so, but yeah, these airborne rifles now being forced back for their greedy push across the open. On the top side, it seems as though AmberT is making some ground now as well. Since one of the mortars is gone, I don't think there's enough mortar coverage to really stop the Osttrooping from swarming forwards. These Pathfinders get themselves pinned by the 120mm mortar, and they get surrendered instantly. And with that M3 gun dying on the bottom side here to the IG-18, that will allow a Panzer 35 to be pretty good fire support here. Just got to find this other M3 gun and all will be good. M3 gun has come up to the mid here. That's going to be engaging the Panzer 35. Is going to get the kill. Panzerjäger goes down. That is a very good kill as well for a M3 gun, which only has 5 accuracy and no veterancy. So nice job there. 120mm mortar is going to come down on top of that M3 gun. Might find a one-shot kill. Those 120mm mortars with their 20 HE are more than capable of doing so. 1 health, almost. IG-18 was forced back by the M1 howitzer but did not get killed. M3 gun, oh, I thought that was going to be a kill there. It's really hard to judge where these mortar shells are going to come in, but there we go, M3 gun down. Right, on this top side, a lot of YueJin's infantry has been forced back. He's starting to suffer with a lack of availability. He's basically deployed all of his airborne rifles straight away, and as soon as like a lot of these airborne rifles start getting chunked and start losing numbers, YueJin starts to lose his advantage, because he can't really reinforce the same way that AmberT can. IG-18 though, that's going to be able to take on the M22. The IG-18s are actually really good against M22s because the 9 HE is just enough to force the M22 to fall back, but it looks like the Mustang has something to say about that. Although that's going to be coming in onto the IG-18 on the top side. Dropping its bombs there. Didn't land directly on target. P-51. It looks like the ME-109 might be able to get onto the back of it and shoot it down. Yeah, I think that P-51 Mustang's dead. Unless the G0 fails to get the kill. Okay, no it didn't. Mustang goes down. Another Mustang has been brought in. That's going to be hit by the Flak 36 though. Ju-87 goes for the bombing strike onto the M22, but now we see the ME-109 coming onto the Mustang. I mean, if AmberT takes control of the air, that is not something you want to see as a 101st player. There is no AA on the side of YueJin though, so he can't really control these air engagements like AmberT can with his Flak 36. IG-18 still doing a lot of damage to YueJin's infantry. This 1 health one was eventually taken out. The Panzer 35 here is going to be able to do a lot of work, especially now that the M3 gun has also died on this top side. Engagement between the ME-109 and the Mustang is ongoing. YueJin has managed to find troops all the way into these buildings, however, and that is not good news for him. So 120mm mortar here, going to be counter-batteried by the M1 howitzer. Airborne engineers and airborne rifles. Managing to get up here is really, really bad news for AmberT. But as we move into Phase B, we can see a flood of infantry on its way. AmberT will not let this stand. He must push the 101st out of these buildings, or he is set to lose a lot of ground, because he can't really fight in the open like YueJin can with things like these airborne engineers. Can't believe this dogfight is still going on. Either way, AmberT's push on this top side has been really, really good. You can see how much just killing one of these 60mm mortars helped so much. with AmberT making ground. Or the ME109G0 there ran out of fuel and was then shot down by the P-51 Mustang because of that. That is unfortunate for AmberT. M22 Locust there is going to get almost pinned down by the Ju-87. These are all Tossr, and they're probably one of the best close range infantry that YueJin has, but I think YueJin here, he needs to bring in some airborne engineers. If he could get airborne engineers into these buildings, he wouldn't even have to worry about these Tossr being Tossr. M1 Howitzer takes out the IG, that's a nice kill indeed. But with the AT guns dead on this top side, the Panzers are definitely providing a lot of cover for the Osttruppen. Now, the thing is, since YueJin has managed to get into these buildings in the centre, and now these buildings in the bottom side, a +1 is still in favour of YueJin, even though AmberT's pushed back on the top side. Ju-87 looks like it doesn't want to find its bombing target there. Looks like the Tossr though absolutely annihilated the unit of airborne rifles. Pathfinder's also engaging those Osttruppen at max range, probably not the best engagement down there. CGMC, pretty good close range fire support. Will be able to hit this infantry if it gets close enough, but doesn't want to get taken out by the Panzerjäger. Ooh, that Ju-87 just forced to fall back before it dropped its bombs. Now it seems as though maybe YueJin didn't realise that the Panzerjäger here was hitting his CGMC. That could be a costly mistake for YueJin if he doesn't notice in the future. These Panzer 35s though, definitely helping AmberT make ground slowly but surely, but YueJin is now replying. Now that he's in phase B, he does have access to these M4DDs, and that will allow him to clean up some of these Panzers at close range, because the M4 actually has a really quick aim time, so compared to these Panzers, should do the job quite easily. Also those Panzers with their low AP, of course, will struggle to penetrate these Sherman, even at like 500 meter range. So that's what YueJin's probably going to be looking for, trying to take advantage of that. Airborne rifles though, or airborne engineers, sorry, for this town area is what I want to see. He's managed to almost get these airborne engineers over, but it seems as though they're now being hit by the 120mm mortar. He needs to keep that pinned down with his own M1 howitzer, because otherwise that's just going to continue to cause troubles here. A quick jump forwards there from one of those Tossr would surrender those airborne rifles. It looks like AmberT can't see them though, so that's an issue. Mustang going to be coming in. The attack onto the Ju-87. Looks like the Stuka dive actually put off the Mustang and didn't allow it to get the kill, which is quite interesting. It was like almost an evasive maneuver. That M4 did get almost fully pinned down by the Ju-87, but not quite. And that's unfortunate for AmberT. AmberT getting very aggressive there with his Ersatztruppen. Wow, landed right on top of those airborne rifles. Panzer 35 getting shots towards this M15 CGMC. At max range though, that Panzer doesn't actually have a very good chance of penetrating the CGMC. This M4 though, just fantastic for ripping to shreds these Ersatz and the Osttruppen. At this range, that's 400 meter range, I'm pretty sure that Panzer 35 still only has like 13% chance of penetration. Or Ju-87 coming in though might change things, especially if that gets forced to fall back, because the side armour on the M4 is not as strong. But we do see the Panzer 35, one of them got killed off there. In the mid, Pathfinders are being pressed upon quite hard. These airborne rifles have been surrounded. M22 is falling back on the bottom side. This wall of Tossr is actually really scary. You would not want to walk into that with like any infantry. Maybe the airborne engineers can do the job, but still, that's pretty scary. And they're all 2-star as well. Right, Panzer 35 still engaging the CGMC. I'm not entirely sure what YueJin's trying to do here, but the M4 is arriving, so that will be able to take up that engagement and hopefully kill off that Panzer 35 for YueJin. But Marder 2 has arrived up here. to support the push of the Osttroop and an Ersatztruppen from AmberT. But he's going to need more infantry availability very shortly, because the M1 howitzer and the 60mm mortar is starting to pin down a lot of this stuff, and YueJin's now reinforcing with glider rifles. So the infantry availability is going to fall back in favour of YueJin at this point. Moving into like phase B and C, if YueJin relies on glider rifles, he will have a lot of availability in infantry. Airborne rifles there did manage to kill off one unit of Osttroop, but got killed off by another, so almost worked. Panzer 35 almost killed off in the centre as well. So this Marder 2, I'm assuming AmberT is going to try and go in for more of those Ju-87 bombing strikes, and then push with the Marder 2 to find the kill onto the M4. But I'm kind of apprehensive to see that actually work, because it's very hard for AmberT to push up here and guarantee that there's no bazooka units. Most of the airborne rifles have been killed up here now, and if AmberT is tracking that, then maybe he'll realise that YueJin's very low on availability of airborne rifles at this point. But it's always hard to tell, because you don't know exactly how many YueJin took in his division. M1 howitzer is still firing away like the entire time. Just the artillery fire and support coming in from YueJin throughout this game has been on point. It's like almost non-stop throughout this game. Like another mortar has been brought on this top side as well to help out with things, and that's gonna help clean up this. Well, it was gonna help clean up the flak there, but was not able to, since the M4 did the job. So that M4 now going to be attack moving towards this road. That's pretty risky actually. It's going to give a shot to this Marder 2. The Marder 2 might find the kill. Well, this is going to be an engagement to watch. Oh, the M4! Oh, he killed... Yeah, I can't believe it. That kill is just ridiculous. Mustang shoots down the Ju-87. The M4 just took out both the Marder 2 and the Panzer 35. The first shot was internal fragment. I'm pretty sure the 50 cal found the kill from the M4. That was legit. Nice job there by YueJin. I wasn't convinced that M4 would target the right one, but if YueJin microed that properly, then there was no doubt that would have found the kill, because it just aimed so damn quickly. M4 is just going to clean up the IG, and that's going to break things open on the top side. That's for sure. M4 is pushing heavily in the mid. These Osttroop don't have any AT, so YueJin can get away with getting his Stuarts and M4s very close to this town and not have to worry too much. Like, a lot of the 352nd Infantry doesn't have AT. But they do have Ju-87s, and that Ju-87, oh, it got driver wounded, and a crew knockout. But did not get the kill. That is very unlucky there for AmberT. 2-star Ju-87 failing to find tank kill is just so damn unlucky. Nebelwerfer has been brought in on the top side. Nebelwerfer 41 does kill off a unit of infantry, forces back the M4 for now. Glider rifles though, still good enough to keep the push on, and YueJin's just going to be relying on those on the top side to provide presence. He's also got more of them now piling into this town. Now glider rifles are great for if you're doing pushes like this, where you're supporting them with tanks, but when it comes to close range infantry engagements, the glider rifles really suffer compared to other options that you have, like bringing in the more elite forces like airborne rifles and airborne engineers instead. So they work in two different ways, but still good idea to have these try and take up some ground here. Makes them pretty hard to dislodge because there is quite a lot of them. And I mean, even at close range, they do have 6 HE. But AmberT there, or YueJin, sorry, just going to make sure that he doesn't allow this one to be killed off very easily. Okay, glider rifles did the job. Took out the Osttroop, although that basically 1 or 2 dudes of Osttroop nearly killed off the entire glider rifle squad. It looks like the 120mm mortar did find a kill onto YueJin's mortar over here. Those Ersatztruppen though are not long for this world though, under that much fire. And well, just in general, look at the amount of forces here that YueJin has in comparison to AmberT. There's really like a pressure building up right now, and I kind of feel like there's going to be a breakthrough any minute. Like, this M4 just did so much work on this top side. It not only cleaned up plenty of infantry, but it also killed off the Marder 2 and the Panzer 35, and it now has a chance to break through and kill off the Nebelwerfer. Ju-87 going down once again. Mustang's going to get out of there. This air superiority from YueJin really paying off now. Shooting down the ME-109 earlier on, the G0, really helped YueJin solidify that, and now he doesn't necessarily have to be as worried about that Ju-87G coming in with its 237mm guns to kill off all his tanks. But these tanks do need to continue to try and make ground. That's what he's got to do before AmberT can reinforce too much. We can see a Stug here, and that's going to be engaging these two M4s. If YueJin can engage this Stug 3 with both M4s at the same time, that would be fantastic. But it looks like AmberT has other ideas. He was going to use his Nebelwerfer to hit both of the M4s, but wasn't allowed to due to this M1 howitzer hitting a timely strike onto the Nebelwerfer. So smoke is going to be coming down on top of that M4, but that's not going to stop this Stug 3 from being pinned down. Unless that Stug 3 can find a kill onto the M4, it is going to get forced to fall back, and then the M4s can go very aggressive here. You can see he's going for the fast move down that road. If the Stosstroop had Panzerfaust, he'd be in trouble, but like I said before, 352nd really struggles with having AT on their infantry, and that's something you can definitely exploit as any division that has armor. So M4 up on the top side gets hit by a Nebelwerfer once again. It looks like AmberT here really just wants to force back the M4 and then make ground with his infantry again, but without anything that can kill the M4 at close range, he's going to have a real hard time making those Pioneers effective. Like, I feel like AmberT's just lacking answers for this armor. Like, he does have access to things like Jagdpanthers and Marders, but there's no open terrain. Like, not enough open terrain that he can really find the kills he needs onto these M4s, because at close range an M4 will kill a Jagdpanther because it can just out-aim it and it can use the hedgerow to its advantage. The Jagdpanther cannot, because it's self-propelled and therefore won't aim in time. And YueJin is just going crazy with these M4s, just bringing up loads of them. Going to slowly but surely start overrunning this infantry. Glider rifles are actually starting to make some ground. Nebelwerfer is going to fire off the rest of its rockets towards the M4 now, but not really the right timing since they're not engaging the Stug 3s. There is a second Stug 3 now here, so both of these Stug 3s together might be able to clean up the M4s, but I don't know, he's got to be careful. YueJin's coming in with the bombers here, and is going to be able to force back the Stug 3s, which is going to allow the M4 to then play aggressive. Thunderbolt did go down. I'm hoping that was worth it for YueJin. He needs to find a kill onto at least one of these Stugs for it to be worth it. So far, he has not. And this Focke-Wulf 190 is not dead yet. That Ju-87, it looks like YueJin wanted to focus that and stop it from killing his M4s. So neglected the Focke-Wulf 190 for a little bit there and allowed it to get away. That's a shame. So Thunderbolt went down. It did manage to get the bombs off, but it hasn't actually achieved anything. So a bit of a dud strike there from YueJin. Smoke coming down once again from the 120mm mortar. I wonder if YueJin decides to get really aggressive here, because there is a chance that fast moving both of these M4s through the smoke here would be a good idea, because he would then have maybe line of sight onto the 120mm mortar and the Nebelwerfer, but we'll have to wait and see. On this top side, there is a Panzerschreck arriving for AmberT. This is what I like to see. Finally, we've got some close range AT. So that Panzerschreck got transmission damage. That is unfortunate, to say the least. If it can reload and get another hit onto the M4 in time and get a kill, then that's good. Yeah, okay. So now AmberT's infantry has an opportunity to push forwards, but there is of course a CGMC here that can still provide like close range fire support with its 50 cals and the 37mm. Right, Nebelwerfer is going to be coming down there on top of the M4s. There's 3 M4s here. That got internal fragmented, so one of those M4s is out of commission. Stoke 3 is going to kill the other one. Really, really nice job there by AmberT to stop the breakthrough. But things still well in favour of YueJin. Like, this may only be a +1 in favour of YueJin, but you've got to remember, like, look at the amount of units on the map. Like, it's so damn in favour right now of YueJin. He's just somehow managed to, again, sort of engage AmberT's units very efficiently and find, like, advantages in areas that really fit his division. And, like, this is as open as it gets on this field, in this map. And, I mean, AmberT is trying his best. Like, he's trying to make use of the open ground. But now even YueJin's countering that with an M10. Like, these Stoke 3s, they only have 1,000 meter range. And I don't think really AmberT has the need for, like, a Jagdpanther. Because the only reason you'd buy the Jagdpanther at this point is to stop any more units from pushing through the mid here. It's not going to make him ground, because he can't push aggressively with a Jagdpanther. So investing instead into infantry and tanks, I think, is a nice idea. And since he's killed the M4 on the top side, bringing along a couple of Panzer 35s is a really good idea, because there's nothing here that can stop him. So 81mm mortar and the M1 howitzers trying to take care of both these Nebelwerfers. We'll have to wait and see if those go down. In the mid, both of these Stugs have been quite effective so far. The M4 is just falling back. They'll probably end up getting resupplied at some point. This M10 destroyer, just using some of its HE on infantry. M4 goes down though. Nice kill there from the Stoke 3. Does find the line of sight, gets the cheeky kill. The biggest problem at the moment is time for AmberT. There's 10 minutes left on the clock, and even though AmberT now, I would say, has an advantage on his top side with his panzers, it's going to be very hard for him to make enough ground quickly to basically win the game. And like here you can see he's getting quite desperate by moving forwards his Stodge Troop aggressively, but it's not really going to work out. Same on this bottom side, like having all this infantry just run across the open. Similar to what I said with YueJin, it's just greasy, it's just greedy. Like when you push across infantry in the open without any support, it just never really works out. And this 50 cal just single-handedly pinning down one of these squads, going to kill off the command there, going to make those infantry very vulnerable to a surrender. AmberT is just lucky that there isn't anything there that can speed forwards and take that surrender. Double Panzer 35 is going to be brought up to this bottom side, and we can see the 120mm mortar come down. But with these two M10s placed in the centre, YueJin's got a pretty good base of operations here, whereby he can stop armour pushes from being very effective, at least from the mid down. Maybe not on the top side. It's going to be pretty hard for AmberT, or for YueJin to stop this, unless he brings in an AT gun and finds the kill that way. Gets the track wheel damage onto the Panzer there, so looks like he's going to find the kill eventually, if it can actually hit the mark. Good response by YueJin. Notice that there wasn't any AT up there that could do some serious damage to tanks. Brought it in, does the job. Takes out a Panzer 35, leaves the infantry that AmberT here, the infantry that AmberT had there, completely unsupported, and now YueJin can take it apart. He's also going to bring in an M4 DD up here, once again. And, well, with the engine destroyed onto one of these Stug 3s, it looks like the M10 managed to finish it off, and there's only one Stug 3 left in the mid. So, I feel like just throughout the entire game, it felt like AmberT lacked what he needed in order to take this close range engagement. Like, I would never suggest playing the 352nd in a map where you know you're going to be engaging a lot of infantry in close quarters combat, because you just get overran by not only infantry quality but also like fire support. Your infantry doesn't inherently have a lot of AT, and it makes it very, very hard to like support that effectively. Like if you had Panzerschrecks with all the infantry squads, like an Erzat squad with like a Panzerschreck, like following it up, then that's like the way you got to do it. But we didn't see any Panzerschrecks till very late in this game, and now AmberT is going to be bringing up a Jagdpanther. But like I said before, I feel like it's just there defensively. It won't really make too much ground for YueJin. And you can see how in this game, especially at the start, I was talking about whether or not YueJin would rely on artillery or planes. And in this game you can see he clearly relied on artillery. He's got so many mortars, he's got 2 M1 howitzers, he's even got an M3 howitzer in here now. And those have been absolutely crushing AmberT's infantry as he's tried to advance. And although AmberT is making a little bit of ground in the mid now, he hasn't managed to push back on this top side the entire game, not effectively anyway, and he hasn't managed to make a breakthrough on the bottom side. We're basically back to square one, where we've been for pretty much most of the game. There's been a little bit of back and forth, but YueJin finding that M4 on the top side was absolutely perfect for like pushing back the ground that AmberT had made, while still maintaining the +1 the whole time. And that's now counting up to like 1,860 points, and just fantastic game here by YueJin. Shtug 3 is going to get very close to these M10s. Oh, that's a shame it missed, because now these M10s are going to come in strong. Transmission damage. Shtug 3 has one more chance, does find the kill onto one of the M10s, but M10 trades back immediately. YueJin now coming through. Can that find a kill onto this M10? It's actually been fast moved up to the top side, which is odd. AmberT definitely wants to use that to engage the M10. Is going to be able to kill out the CGMC first. Yep, bail out. I don't know if he can really use it that aggressively anymore though. Pioneers did manage to find their way into these buildings actually. After all that, one squad managed to sneak through. It's because the 50 cal here did manage to get, oh my lord, the 50 cal did manage to get pushed back by the 120mm mortar, but we did see there the M10 take out the YueJin at the end. AmberT surrenders after 34 minutes and 28 seconds. So YueJin secures himself the second game and a one-way ticket straight to the final. Well played, YueJin, indeed. AmberT is going to be dropping to the lower bracket to face off against Gonzo in the lower bracket final. I think both these players, you can see how closely matched it is by how both players are playing this sort of balancing match. And it basically means that the front line doesn't switch that much, but you can see like how YueJin was picking apart AmberT in both of these games. And again, 2,775 kills to 1,805 losses. Not as good as his first game against AmberT, but YueJin really finding the value for money that allows him to maintain that small advantage throughout the game. And that's really what just wins it for him. And it's just great to watch. It's sort of the finer points rather than just watching Gonzo just ram somebody really, really hard. Either way, kills, we see the airborne rifles. They weren't really that effective in terms of cost efficiency, the airborne rifles, but they did hold the Osttrooper at bay. We see the M3 guns picking up kills onto the Panzer 35s and the Panzerjägers. This airborne rifle did kill off that Panzerjäger on the top side early on. We saw the 60mm mortars though, and the M1 howitzers do work. They're pinning down infantry constantly, pinning down fire support units constantly, and also plenty of kills for YueJin's Air Force. Got those Mustangs, the MU-109G0 kill, got a Ju-87 kill there. And this M4 that came in and killed off the Marder 2 and the Panzer 35, fantastic job by that one. M4 in the mid, taking out another Panzerjäger. Glider rifles actually did work, killing off 2 Osttroop there and an Osttroop, and very nice job by that glider rifles. Mustang took out a Ju-87, this P-47 Thunderbolt took out Grenfjord, but that was a bit of a, not necessarily a misplay from YueJin, but just unfortunate that his M4s failed to find any kills onto the Shtug 3s after the bombing strike came down. Rifles there managed to pick up a few kills, but this M10, wow, look at that. 2 Shtug 3s and a YueJin, really, really nice kills. If we jump over to the losses, well, 120mm mortars. The perfect counter that AmberT needed to get rid of the 60mm mortars that YueJin was using against him. And it was the right choice, but I feel like he kind of put them in a kind of dodgy positions. He didn't really have them behind tree lines where they weren't so they weren't like directly out of line of sight. And I felt that meant he got counter batteried more than he probably needed to. But either way, the one on the top side certainly did the job, and that one actually killed off an M22. I guess that was maybe the surrender there. But either way, Stug 3, that one did a good job, picking off a couple of the M4DDs there. And we did see a Stug 3 take out the M10, and that Focke-Wulf shooting down the P47 that kind of failed. Either way, fantastic game, fantastic series. Really, really enjoyed watching this one and really enjoyed casting it. Lots of points to make. Just lovely plays all round. Fantastic job. Now we're going to be moving on to Gonzo versus AmberT in the lower bracket final, and then YueJin versus the winner of that match in the overall final. You have to wait and see. That's all for now. Hopefully you guys have enjoyed it. See you next time. Goodbye.